Good morning, readers. Today we are discussing determining theme. Go ahead and get out your reading learning intention sheet. Fill in the date, which is January 20th. Fill in the book that you are reading. And finally, today as a reader, I am working on determining theme. Readers, we have been talking about theme and big ideas in a book. As you develop big ideas about a book, remember that idea as you read. Think as you read. Yes, this goes with my idea, or wait, this makes me think something new. So, as we decide what our book is all about or what message the author is trying to tell us, we keep that idea in our head as we read. We then gather evidence to say, yes, this goes with my idea. Or occasionally we find evidence that says, wait, my idea didn't quite make sense. This makes me think something new. Readers, I want to tell you about a book club that I had last year. And this book club was reading the book, The House of 60 Fathers. And they came up with a great theme. They found passages that were written in bold, and they read those passages multiple times and discussed them as a book club, and they grew their ideas, and they finally decided that the story was teaching them that war makes children grow up quickly. As they continued to read, they found more and more evidence that supported their idea. And they continued to write about that evidence and to write about their idea. We're going to do a little bit of practice with this today with Number the Stars. Readers, we're going to use the same big idea that my book club from last year used for The House of 60 Fathers. They said that war makes children grow up quickly. So we're going to see if that same theme fits our book. This passage is the passage about the soldiers coming to the Johansons' house to look for the Rosens. And it was a pretty alarming passage. I'm going to start on page 45. The heavy-booted feet moved across the floor again and into the other bedroom. The closet door opened and closed with a bang. Anne-Marie eased her bedroom door closed silently. She stumbled through the darkness to the bed. "Ellen," she whispered urgently, "take your necklace off." Ellen's hands flew to her neck. Desperately, she began trying to unhook the tiny clasp. Outside the bedroom door, the harsh voices and heavy footsteps continued. "I can't get it open," Ellen said frantically. "I never take it off. I can't even remember how to open it." Anne-Marie heard a voice just outside the door. "What is here?" "Shh," her mother replied. "My daughter's bedroom. They are sound asleep." "Hold still," Anne-Marie commanded. "This will hurt." She grabbed the little gold chain, yanked with all her strength, and broke it. As the door opened and the light flooded into the bedroom, she crumpled it into her hand and closed her fingers tightly. Terrified, both girls looked up at the 3 Nazi officers who entered the room. One of the men aimed a flashlight around the bedroom. He went to the closet and looked inside. Then, with a sweep of his gloved hand, he pushed to the floor coats and a bathrobe that hung from pegs on the wall. There was nothing else in the room except the chest of drawers, the blue decorated trunk in the corner, and a heap of Kirsty's dolls piled in a rocking chair. The flashlight beam touched each thing in turn. Angrily, the officers turned toward the bed. "Get up," he ordered. "Come out here." Trembling, the 2 girls rose from the bed and followed him, brushing past the 2 remaining officers in the doorway to the living room. Anne-Marie looked around. These 3 uniformed men were different from the ones on the street corner. The street soldiers were often young, sometimes ill at ease, and Anne-Marie remembered how the giraffe had, for a moment, let his harsh pose slip and had smiled at Kirsty. But these men were older. Their faces were set with anger. Her parents were standing beside each other, their faces tense. But Kirsty was nowhere in sight. Thank goodness. that Kirsty had slept through almost everything. If they had wakened her, she would be wailing, or worse, she would be angry with her fists would fly. "Your names?" the officer barked. "Anne-Marie Johansson, and this is my sister. Quiet, let her speak for herself." "Your name?" He was glaring at Ellen. Readers, I'm going to pause for a moment, and I want you to think about how Ellen and Anne-Marie must be feeling right now. Think about what it must be like to be them as I read these last few pages. Ellen swallowed. "Lise," she said, and cleared her throat. "Lise Johansson." The officer stared at them grimly. "Now," Mama said in a strong voice, "you have seen that we are not hiding anything." "May my children go back to bed?" The officer ignored her. Suddenly he grabbed a handful of Ellen's hair. Ellen winced. He laughed scornfully. "You have a blonde child sleeping in the other room, and you have this blonde daughter." He gestured toward Anne-Marie with his head. "Where did you get the dark-haired one?" He twisted Ellen's hair. "From a different father, from the milkman." Papa stepped forward. "Don't speak to my wife in such a way. Let go of my daughter, or I will report you for such treatment." "Or maybe you got her someplace else," the officer continued with a sneer. "From the Rosens?" For a moment no one spoke. Then Anne-Marie, watching in a panic, saw her father move swiftly to the small bookcase and take out a book. She saw that he was holding the family photo album. Very quickly he searched through its pages, found what he was looking for, and tore out 3 pictures from 3 separate pages. He handed them to the German officer, who released Ellen's hair. "You will see each of my daughters, each with her name written on the photograph," Papa said. Anne-Marie knew instantly which photographs he had chosen. The album had many snapshots, all the poorly focused pictures of school events and birthday parties. But it also contained a portrait taken by a photographer of each girl as a tiny infant. Mama had written in her delicate handwriting the name of each baby daughter across the bottom of these photographs. She too realized, with an icy feeling, why Papa had torn them from the book. At the bottom of each page, below the photograph itself, was written the date, and the real Lise Johansson had been born 21 years earlier. "Kirsten Elizabeth," the officer read, looking at Kirsty's baby picture. He let the photograph fall to the floor. "Anne-Marie," he read next, glancing at her, and dropped the second photograph. "Lise Marguerite," he read finally, and stared at Ellen for a long, unwavering moment. In her mind, Anne-Marie pictured the photograph that had held the baby, wide-eyed, propped against a pillow, her tiny hand holding a silver teething ring, her bare feet visible below the hem of an embroidered dress, the wispy curls dark. The officer tore the photograph in half and dropped the pieces to the floor. Then he turned the heels of his shiny boots grinding into the pictures and left the apartment. Without a word, the other 2 officers followed. Papa stepped forward and closed the door behind them. Anne-Marie relaxed the clenched fingers of her right hand, which still clutched Ellen's necklace. She looked down and saw she had imprinted the Star of David into her palm. Readers, yesterday we talked about that last paragraph, and we discussed some big ideas from that. But right now, I want you to think, does that fit with our thought? Or does any of that fit with our thought that war makes children grow up quickly? You're going to turn and talk with your reading partner right now. Readers, today you will read your book club book. You will write in your packet. You will add to your timeline. And you will write about the ideas and themes in your book. Remember that if you and your book club have decided that there is a certain idea or message in your book, you want to read and think about that idea or message. You want to find evidence that either matches that idea, or if you come across evidence that doesn't, you want to make sure to take note of that to see if it changes your mind about the big idea that's in a book. Let's make it a great reading day.